Hidden Legal Figures is more than a podcast. It's an oral museum. We opened in 2019, and our 32 episodes were like virtual exhibits that showcased the heroic and vital contributions lawyers and judges made to the civil rights movement. Once inside, listeners can hear their stories told in their own voices. Like Fred Gray, the young lawyer who helped shape the Montgomery bus boycott.
So my commitment was finish Alabama State, enroll in somebody's law school someplace, don't even apply to the University of Alabama because I knew they wouldn't accept me. Finish law school, come back to Alabama, take the bar exam, become a lawyer, and destroy everything segregated I could find. Exactly what we had planned in Joanne Robington's living room took place. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was selected to be the spokesman, and the young lawyer just out of law school was selected as the lawyer for the movement in charge of the legal activities. That's how I became involved in it, and that's how the Montgomery bus boycott got started.
Or like William Augustus Boodle, the federal judge who presided over the case that desegregated the University of Georgia.
Well, it didn't take much evidence. I had common sense. I could see they were black, and I knew what was going on as everyone else did. It didn't take much evidence to convince me that they were denied admission solely because they were black. You can't afford to flinch in the face of duty.
Derek Alexander Pope is the host of Hidden Legal Figures, but he's more like an expert curator, and with a lawyer's attention to detail, he carefully cultivates each episode with one purpose in mind: inspiration through education.
We've been told that the arc of the moral universe is long and that it bends towards justice. It is our hope that Hidden Legal Figures can shine a light on the path that leads us in that direction.
One of our guests, Joel Motley III, had a similar thought when he talked about his mother, Constance Baker Motley.
And her life is an example of the power of the law in our society to transform the society for the better. Nowadays, when we have the rule of law under severe attack, we're reminded of that. But her life gives me confidence that we'll overcome this struggle as we did in the 1960s.
And so did Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr., another one of our special guests, in an episode about Donald Lee Hollowell.
I think the movement would have been a failure without the presence, the support of great lawyers like Attorney Hollowell. And I hope we will give to the next generation a wider view and a greater understanding of the roles and the contributions of persons like Attorney Donald L. Hollowell.
To get that wider view, we take our listeners inside the story. Whether it's the sound of Thurgood Marshall opening the envelope to read the letter from James Meredith asking for his help to desegregate the University of Mississippi.
When Thurgood opened the letter, the young man got right to the point.
Dear Sir, I am submitting an application for admission to the University of Mississippi. I am seeking entrance for the second semester, which begins the 8th of February 1961. I am anticipating encountering some type of difficulty with the various agencies here in the state which are against my gaining entrance into the school.
Because Mississippi was the worst of all southern states, Thurgood Marshall said,
"This man has got to be crazy."
He took the letter and threw it on Constance Baker Motley's desk, turned around and walked away and said,
"That's your case."
Or the packed courtroom in the 1906 case of Ed Johnson.
Ed Johnson's trial began. It was Tuesday, February 6th. At about 7 o'clock that morning, the people who lived along 9th Street had been awakened by the sound of the city police patrol wagon. It was carrying Ed Johnson to the Hamilton County Criminal Court building. By the next hour, a crowd had already gathered in the courtroom of Judge Samuel McReynolds for the proceedings that would begin at 9 o'clock. The bailiff brought the room to order.
Order in the court. Be seated.
We want our listeners to feel like they are right there. We want you to fully appreciate every aspect of what these lawyers were doing and what they were facing. And we want to connect you to their experience as they connect their experience to our present challenges. Like Constance Baker Motley did when she taught us exactly what the civil rights cases mean to our lives even today.
But I think it was an important lesson for the American people to understand how their government, how their constitution, I should say, is really put into effect. Sometimes it's necessary for us to have such a demonstration. People forget how the Constitution came about, what it stands for. They know little about courts, unfortunately, and particularly about the federal courts and the role of the federal courts in our society. But I think the civil rights cases demonstrated for the American people that there is a branch of government that will respond to the deprivation of basic human rights.
Or like our host did when he portrayed James Weldon Johnson, who many know as the composer of Lift Every Voice and Sing, but who was also a lawyer.
But I was also convinced that it would be necessary to awaken Black America. Awaken Black America to a sense of his rights, regardless of what might be done for Black America. The ultimate and vital part of the work would have to be done by Black America. This country can actually have no more democracy than it accords and guarantees to the humblest and weakest citizen. This is a question which can neither be avoided or postponed.
And W.J. Michael Mike Cody, one of the lawyers who represented Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on that fateful April day in 1968.
The civil rights movement didn't start in Montgomery, and it didn't end with Dr. King's death. That was just a stage of it. It's different now, but it's every bit as important as it was there.
Yes, Hidden Legal Figures is more than a podcast. It is an oral museum. And every time you step inside, the history of a people and the future of a nation comes into plain view.